One really interesting thing you said to me when we were chatting a few weeks ago was that Bollywood was created by merging Hinduism and Islam. So talk to me about that a little bit more, and what did you mean by that?
So Fatima Bhutto, I'm pretty sure she dives deeper into that in her book.
Okay.
But what she found when I read it, I was like, wait a minute. It's like that in Bollywood really started in the Mughal courts.
Having chai is like having a heart-to-heart with someone without realizing you're having a heart-to-heart with them. And that's what I've been doing these last few months with Pakistani diaspora all over the world. I want to welcome you to season 1 of Shaam Ki Chai.
Welcome everyone. I'm Nitasha, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Shaam Ki Chai. Today we have Abubakar Khan with us. He is a director, a producer, a filmmaker. He's many, many things actually. He's shaking his head, but that's not true. And the founder of the Diaspora Creative. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Abubakar. It's really good to have you.
I appreciate that.
What was that experience like, moving from here and then going all the way to Pakistan and into an all-boys Muslim school of all things? How did that impact you?
I think, Natasha, it's like you're always trying to figure out your identity. By the way, can you hear the sprinklers in the background?
No.
Awesome. Perfect.
You're good. Can you hear the
awesome.
line in the background?
No, I'm
Very
good.
There we go. We got.
I can hear nothing. This is perfect.
Gotta love audio.
I love technology. What I was gonna say was, likewise, I was gonna say was, I think growing up here, I didn't really feel. It's that common thing with children. It's like you never really feel like you belong.
Yeah.
And I think that's normal for anybody I meet. It's like you're always trying to figure out who you are.
Yes.
So when I was here, I was trying to figure out who I was. And then when I moved out there, I went there and I was like a 6'3", 12-year-old. And so they'd all call me Alam Channa, which was the tallest man in Pakistan at the time, like before my time.
Right.
And so when I was there, I was trying to figure out who I was as well. And I made a post about this actually recently when I was in Pakistan in October last year.
Right.
Where I basically talked about how, you know what, I was trying to fit in here in North America. I was trying to fit in Pakistan. And I was never really happy or fulfilled when I tried to do either.
Okay.
But the moment that I started realizing that I just have to fit in my own body, right? The moment that happened, when I went back to Pakistan, I just loved it.
You've experienced both cultures, Pakistani culture or Eastern culture, I'll say, and Western culture as well. What are some of the things that you like the most about both cultures?
It's funny. I'm doing a paper on this right now. It's about, it's like, can the West learn from the East?
I could have added that to your intro and writer.
No, I'm not a writer. No, well, I'm around writers. Again, the same thing. I'm just around writers. It's good. But we were working on this project about can the West learn about sustainability from the East?
Okay.
And so what it was talking about was just that the West, there's all this individualism, and there's a whole focus on individualism. Whereas in the East, it's all about the collectivism. And you and I have had this conversation before about why chai? Why do we do chai? Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I really loved about the Eastern culture, was that when I went to Punjab in India, it's like you're sitting at a dhaba or a taba as they say it, and you're just eating all this great food together. You're hanging out without a worry, and we're just relaxing. And then when you're in Pakistan, same thing on the other side of Punjab. You just have a lot of free time. You do, right? Life is a little more laid back or slow paced.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's kind of just like, we got to keep moving, which is, again, it has a good thing too with innovation, being able to make things happen. But I think that finding a balance of both has really helped me in my life.
So when you went back to Pakistan last October, that was the first time in 10 years you had gone back. Is that correct?
No, that was the first time in, give me a second, actually, because I went back for a week when I was like in 2012. I went back. I was there for maybe 2 weeks, but it was like, it was from when I was 13. It was probably the longest trip that I've done since I was 13 was this one in October of last year. I was there for about a month and a half.
Oh, that's crazy. So what were the changes that you noticed straight off the bat when you got there over the last, 8 years?
I hear that crow. I see it. You're outside right now. Yeah, I love it. That's normal in Pakistan. You just have all that noise.
Yeah, I was on the phone with someone in Pakistan yesterday, and you could hear the birds and the crows and all of that. And I was like, okay, yep, you're 100% in Pakistan.
It's like life, and I like that. So, what were some of the changes you said?
Yeah, some of
Uh,
the changes over the last 8 years that you noticed right away.
I think it's a lot of, again, that whole concept of trying to become like the West.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
over there, it's a lot of, yo, let's go hang out eat at Hardee's.
Right.
Again, McDonald's is still the spot.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
it's a lot of that, of like Lofology, which is a great place to eat in Islamabad, like a great breakfast spot, but it's a lot of Western stuff.
Got it.
So that was kind of what I found, was even with the news, it's still like they're trying to they don't really focus too much on um, but you know how it is. But when you live someplace, it's like you're like, oh man, this place sucks, or this place, there's always something better. So that
There's
was
all
the difference I saw with just like everyone's speaking English at everyone's going to cafes. And the joke that I started making was that just like the people in Pakistan, or like us as the diaspora, that
right.
identity crisis that we're having, the cafes in Pakistan are having the same identity crisis.
Oh, that's
You could
funny.
get like a nice expensive meal, you could get some ice cream, you get a coffee. It's like everything in this one cafe. You're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, this isn't a normal cafe.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. So
Yeah.
that was a big change that I found.
That actually brings me into touching on a discussion we had about Pakistan's media identity and how it basically doesn't have a media identity, right? And so it tries to be Hollywood sometimes, it tries to be Bollywood sometimes, but it seems like it doesn't have its own voice. And so, what do you think that voice is, and how do you think Pakistani media will get that voice?
There's a good book that I would recommend by Fatima Bhutto, where she talks about, like, it's called New Kings of the World. She dives deeper into Bollywood, into Korean pop, and into Turkish dramas. So
Okay.
it's funny. While I was out there, there's a relative of mine. It's, yeah, exactly. It's like, so while I was out there, this is a true story. I'm in Multan at a
Okay.
relative's house, and then one of my younger cousins, she just like telling me about how she only listens to K-pop. And I'm like, you're in Multan sitting here. She's like, all I do is listen to K-pop. Oh, I don't hate all this other stuff. I was like, what is going? But that's why it's so big.
Mhm.
That, like, we're consuming content from all these other places. This is only from my limited perspective. I could be, again, it's only from my limited perspective, where it's like if you're only diving deep into your history till 47, you're
Mhm.
really limiting yourself. So that whole region is it's incredible, the history, the stories, but we don't really realize that the point of beginning for people in Pakistan is a point of a lot of trauma, which is partition,
Right.
right? So that's tough when you're starting at that place of like, yo, like Pakistan. There's a lot of great art that can come from that, but also it's a lot of just like you get stuck in place. And so that's kind of where I think the media industry is right now. There was a period of time where the media films stopped being made in Pakistan,
Right.
um, and so it's at a really interesting place where you can really make some cool stuff. And there's some incredible directors and writers that I've met that are doing stuff they're making waves globally. So it's starting to happen already.
Well,
Yeah.
you actually had a really cool project when you went back. You were part of Ali Sethi's latest music video. So how was that experience? And just tell us all about it.
It was fun. Honestly, I met Ali last year thanks to Arshid. Shout out Arshid Khan. He's a wonderful guy. His family out in Toronto, they
Okay.
do this incredible festival called Mosaic Film. There's MISAF, and then there's Mosaic, which is the music festival. So
Oh,
MISAF is the film one.
okay.
And their family, they're wonderful, wonderful people. So because of them, last year I met Ali. He was a headliner for, I think, Friday night, and
I'm sure.
we just had great conversations and connected.
Yeah.
And then I met with him in New York a few times, so we just kept building that relationship. And then in Pakistan, I had dinner with him and another singer. Her name's Kurtal Ain Baloch, or QB as they say.
Yeah.
So we're all like saying that. So it was like through these moments, so I got to learn more about Ali. And then an incredible director named Danish Renzu,
Okay.
who's from Kashmir. He's based in LA. So he actually made an incredible film recently called The Illegal. It's about, again, the whole immigrant struggle. There's a lot to it. So he
Right.
reached out and he said, let's make something during COVID. And I'm like, I'm down, man. And so that's what happened. Was he just said, hey, look, I have this incredible lyricist, Sunaina Kachuru. She's wonderful.
Right.
I said, hey, I know Ali. Maybe Ali's interested. So Ali kind of just on WhatsApp, he just sent me like a 2-minute voice note of like, hey, I have this beat in my head and this one sentence is the hook. What do you think? And then I sent it to Donna. She's like, so only, I think, well, there's certain people that can do that.
Right.
So
Right.
when Ali did it, I'm like, okay, we're like, yo, this will be awesome.
Yeah.
And so then the process just happened where I was sitting in Seattle. I'd be doing Zoom calls with Ali. Danish flew to Kashmir during COVID
Wow.
from LA. Then he starts filming this music video of all these Kashmiri artists and people. Sunaina and Ali are working on the lyrics, and then an incredible producer named Rush. He's in New Jersey, so he's an Indian Gujarati background. Him and Ali are working in his studio in his basement, making the song. So Ali's going from Manhattan to New Jersey.
Wow.
And then we had an incredible drummer named Sunny Jain. He did the dole. So it's kind of like it was a whole family. And then to end off, we had this animated video as well by this woman named Reed. She did a great job. So it was a full team. It was like it just happened. I was just like, okay, cool. It just keeps growing.
For a WhatsApp note of all things. That's incredible.
So what's happening? Yeah, 5 months. 5 months.
That's awesome. So did you fly to Kashmir for it, for the filming as well?
No, I was stuck in Seattle. Danish flew to Kashmir.
Got it.
Right. So he'd be filming out there. And it was cool because the main point is called Pehla Qadam, which is the first step. The cool thing was that we had all these instruments being recorded in Lahore. You had this woman, an incredible editor in Mumbai, editing the video, right? And you had the film, the project being recorded in Kashmir. So it just kind of was that our music, like it brings people together, regardless of borders or whatever it may be. That was kind of my goal, Danish's goal, Ali's, of like, hey, look, like it just brought us together. We just wanted to make something awesome together. We did.
What role do you think media plays in India-Pakistan relations? And I know that's a loaded question, but what role does it play in creating the issues between India-Pakistan or tensions between India-Pakistan, and what role can it play to solve some of them?
So people have to realize there's a good show. There's a lot of, it's called Mad Men, but that one's interesting on like the 60s in America and how you see what they do with media.
Yeah.
But the media is in itself, it's its own reality TV show. So people, once you start looking at it that way, then you'll start understanding, oh, okay, the narrative. Okay, coronavirus, as an example, it's like, it's so marketable. Things like that you start seeing like, oh my God, how the news cycle is 24 hours, picking things up.
Yeah.
So in regards to India and Pakistan, what was that?
Everything is breaking news. There's like 17 different breaking newses.
Oh, Lord. I remember I was in Mumbai 3 years ago, and I'm with my team, and we're sitting there having breakfast, and it's like, breaking news, Pakistan did this, breaking news. And we're like, this, none of it, like, what is going on? And it's like flashing red. So you're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid.
Yeah.
But we're like, this isn't real. Like,
right.
So that's what I would say, is that it's the narrative. And so a lot of my work is just on, hey, you guys have your political issues, so be it. Power, politics, I got it. That's life. They're going to continue to keep doing that. I'm not here to be like, I'm going to go solve India and Pakistan's relations. No, all I'm going to do is just, I want to bring great creatives together. Let's tell great stories, right? That really people can feel and understand and be seen and heard through this content. So to end off with the question you asked about what does media play?
Yeah.
It plays a huge part, especially if in Pakistan, you have all these people watching news because there's like 90 channels and they're all news.
Yes.
So then all they're consuming is news. So all they think is that, oh my God, this guy is horrible. So when my team, my production company, when they came to Pakistan with me, they had just heard stuff from the media. So my camera operator, Luke, he's wonderful. He's a white guy from Wenatchee, Washington. He would Google like Pakistan, and it's like, oh my God, terrorism, all this stuff. So he's worried. Yeah. And then he goes there and he's like, dude, I've had the greatest time of my life here. So like he had the best time of his life. Yeah. That's him. But that's, again, he was a white guy. He was going to be treated differently. Right. Then you had my team in February and March come, right? They're all South Asian. They're all Punjabi from the other side of the border.
Got it.
So you have one who's a Sardar, and then the other 4 of them are Sikhs.
Okay.
And the Sardar Rinder had the best time of his life as well.
Nice.
He was like, oh my God, man, I'm a superstar here. Everyone's wanting to take photos of it, but there's just so much love. Right. A lot of emotional conversations. We actually met this army guy while we were at this place called Tekshila. Okay. So it's an ancient civilization in Pakistan. People don't even know that much about it too, where we're walking through it. And then these 2 army guys just show up, right? And we're just doing our thing. We have cameras and everything. Right. This one guy looks at Rinder, and then he just starts talking to him, and he starts sharing like, oh my God, like my mom's best friend, she was sick. She was from your faith. And, my mom tells me about how when she left, it was the most emotional moment ever during partition. And you know, man, like I'm so glad I got to meet you, and like he gave him a huge hug,
Oh,
and it's like an army guy hugging
yeah,
this Singh. We're like, hey, you mean I got a photo of it too, and it was very emotional. The guy had tears in his eyes,
of
and we
course.
recorded that. It just happened certain out of the blue.
Right, right.
Um,
Well, that's
so I think that's kind of what I'm more focused on is healing the narrative through media. That hey, you know what? Like, okay, politics and power, no matter what, it's gonna be polarized. But people are just people. Like we like to. It's the same place. It's just a man-made border by some British dude that had no idea about the area. They cut the state in
yeah.
half.
One really interesting thing you said to me when we were chatting a few weeks ago was that Bollywood was created by merging Hinduism and Islam. So talk to me about that a little bit more, and what did you mean by that?
So Fatima Bhutto, I'm pretty sure she dives deeper into that in her book.
Okay.
But what she found when I read it, I was like, wait a minute. It's like that in Bollywood really started in the Mughal courts,
Okay.
right? So people don't realize this again. It's a you have to understand all these people were hanging out with each other. All of these conversations were flowing back then as well.
Right.
So then obviously art as well, art it's they're all connecting and they're creating art. And then you look at Bollywood too right now. Look at all the big cons. They're all Muslims,
They're all Muslims.
right? Look at again like the films are more like they're Hindu oriented of like you have like Kal Ho Na Ho or Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, things like that.
Mhm.
But again, it's like you couldn't have either without like it would not just be Hindu. There's no way. It was a combination of both coming together to
Mhm.
create this mega industry. And now you see how they're trying to use it to kind of separate people, right? They're making these certain projects and they're using it for again politics and power.
Of course.
But if you didn't have any Muslims, y'all wouldn't have Bollywood. If you didn't have any Hindus, it wouldn't be what it is today,
I
or
wouldn't.
what it was like in its heyday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think too, like all of the lyrics that I hear, and they have so many Islamic references, right?
And they're in Urdu. How many are songs are in Urdu?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Actually, we were having that conversation the other day. I had people over for Diwali, and we were talking about how everyone speaks this merge of like Urdu and Hindi now, and no one actually speaks proper Urdu or proper Hindi anymore, right? And Bollywood has created almost like a new language that all of us understand. So it's crazy how it's all kind of just come together under this industry. Okay, it's starting to rain, and so I'm going to ask you the last question, which is great because there's only
Oh no.
but I want to learn about Shaam ki chai at your house, and what does Shaam ki chai mean to you, and what it's like having Shaam ki chai with you.
Okay, honestly, my mom just made this chai for me. I would be upfront. I was like, Mom, look, I need some chai. She's like, Why do you need chai? I was like, Yo, I gotta go. I have to do this interview. She's like, Okay. She's like, You use the be your own one. You know, be your own person. I'm like, Yo, my mom, you a G. Okay. So that happened there. I drink a lot of yerba mate. It's like this different thing where it's kind of like you got a little straw. The caffeine is different. Um, but what Sham ki chai really means here, we don't like my mom and dad will do the chai together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But I think when I was in Pakistan, like when I was around family there, the Sham ki chai, or even here actually, whenever family members come, again, it's COVID, so it's been so long.
right.
But even with my grandma, with my mom, like when people show up, it's like, hey, would you want chai? Sure.
Yeah,
Because you know, like it's like time for a conversation. It's time for a heart to heart. We're about to talk. I mean, but if I don't get the chai, it's different. If I'm like, no, I don't want chai, it kind of like, it's like, oh, come on, man. Like, you know, all right, fine, I'll have some chai.
yeah,
And you know that you're about to stay another extra hour or whatever just to talk.
right,
Um, and the chai is like, it's a huge part of the festivities regardless. It's
right.
like, because I always, at my grandparents' house, especially even here, I'm the one that's like, my mom's like, okay, put this stuff out.
Yeah,
So you know, you have the appetizers, you
yeah,
got the meal,
yeah,
and it's like, okay, chai, the chai order no matter what. So
yeah.
that's what Shamki chai really means whenever we would do events pre-COVID. Um, is it's just like it's time to relax some more and
Just talk.
just talk about usually Pakistani politics or something with the uncles. But
I mean, the two
uh,
things we all talk about, right? We're going to solve all the problems in the world, and politics and cricket.
I'm just trying to solve my own problems. Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great to chat with you, and I can't wait to see
Thank you for having me.
the other projects that you do next.
No, I appreciate you a lot. I'm excited and I'm really excited to watch Shamki Chai evolve
Thank
and get bigger and bigger.
you.
So kudos to you and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Yeah.
Cheers. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.